So we as guitar players always have this debate of who's the best guitar player, but we don't really talk about our favorite guitar players. I feel like it's always like, who's the best? Jimmy, Eddie, Zach. That's not what today's video is. Today's video is just about my top 10 favorite guitar players of all time. Let's get into it. So what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite guitar players, okay? 10 to 1, we're just going to knock them out. I'm going to talk about why I like them, how I got into them, etc. and just the overall story as to why they're my favorite. Now, again, this is not a top 10 guitar players of all time, because that is a very outdated debate and is rather annoying because people start to get really hostile. And we already know Eddie Van Halen is the #1 guitar player of all time, so that argument doesn't have to be discussed anymore, so moving right along. We're just gonna go 10 to 1, and yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into the top 10 list, we'll give you 2 honorable mentions, okay? 2 guys that just missed the top 10 list, alright? The first honorable mention is Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit. Now, I know Limp Bizkit is kind of like a weird, dumb, cheesy, highly debated and heavily debated and argued and talked about band that they're, you know, kind of crap and like a joke. I get it. However, Wes Borland has some of the sickest riffs of all time, like Nookie and Break Stuff. Even the tapping and rearranged, My Way, the intro, like, you know, My Generation with the whammy bar. Anyway, say what you want about the band, Wes Borland is very, very good guitar player, and he has some of the most iconic riffs of the 90s and early 2000s. You can't debate that. So, Wes Borland just misses the list. My other honorable mention, now don't hate me for this, guys, it's just a favorite, not a top 10 list, but you know what, I really don't care, this is my list, not yours. If you have a top 10, put it down below in the comments. But, Jimi Hendrix just misses my top 10 favorite guitar player list. I get it, he's, you know, the innovator, the pioneer. Not that into him. I think he's rather sloppy live, and yeah, I just not really into Jimmy. I used to be when I was about 11, when I first was discovering rock and roll. However, those days have since passed, and I've found other guitar players, and Jimi Hendrix not on the list. So, now on to the top 10. Coming in at number 10, Stephen Carpenter from Deftones. Now, Stephen Carpenter is not a very good guitar player. I'll be honest, we're all aware of that. However, I just love his riffs and his style. He goes along with what I said in my last video, my question video, where when I like to write, it's like trippy, ambient, heavy stuff. And that's what Stephen Carpenter creates with Deftones. He uses an 8 string, so he relies heavily on that low E or even you know, F sharp from time to time. But he creates like very ambient soundscape stuff like Knife Party, Sex Tape, Romantic Dreams, Rosemary, things like that. But he also bangs on that low F sharp, like in You've Seen the Butcher. That is the first 8-string song that I like got hooked on when it first came out, you know, almost 10 years ago off of Diamond Eyes. That riff is so simple, and that's why I love Stephen Carpenter coming in at number 10. Number 9, my boy from Pennsylvania, JB Brubaker from August Burns Red. Now JB, he can shred. Brent Rambler from August Burns Red, he can shred as also, but JB is the lead guitar player and the main guitar player in this band, and so therefore he is responsible, along with Matt Greiner, the drummer, for some of the coolest and most technical and sick metalcore breakdowns of all time. A song off of their record Constellations from 2009 is what solely got me into metalcore and the heavy stuff. Just after I found Slipknot, I found August Burns Red, and when the song Crusades off of Constellation, the breakdown at the 1 minute mark, I'll never forget it, the first time I heard it in my friend's garage, blew me away. If you haven't heard that song, check it out. If you have heard that song, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly the breakdown that I am talking about, and therefore you'll understand, okay, yeah, I get how you got into metalcore and heavy music because of that song. So, JB Brubaker coming in at number 9 on my top 10 favorite guitar players. All right, number 8. Now, bands that have 2 guitar players, for example, Zacky Vengeance and Sin Gates, for an example, they're not on this list. Spoiler alert. They're like kind of like hand in hand. It's like bread and butter. It's like peanut butter and German Shepherd. You know, they're all like, you know, one goes with the other. You know, cat, airplane, you get it. So, that being said, I picked number 8 as a band that has 2 guitar players that they're equally just as good, and therefore you can't really pick and choose. So number 8 is Martin and Frederick from Meshuggah. They have some of the best riffs, one of the hardest bands to learn and comprehend. It's like, I feel like a metal elitist, like, oh, I listen to Meshuggah, so I know all about technicality and time signatures and metal, and you're not a real metalhead if you don't know all Meshuggah stuff. I get it. However, that being said, dude, their stuff is so hard to learn. If you've tried to learn a Meshuggah song, like a cover, you know what I'm talking about. They're not hard in terms of technicality, really. It's hard in terms of like just basic human memory. It's like playing Simon Says with the kick drum the whole time for 9 minutes. I mean, Dancers and Bleed and Rational Gaze, dude, they're just like so hard to remember, like just the little nuances and the little, again, this is all following the kick. The guitar follows the kick drum about 95% of the time with Meshuggah stuff, and it's so hard to remember it all. So therefore, that's why they're so hard to play, because you got to remember it all. Simon Says with your right hand, swear to God. I love them. Bleed and Dancers will forever be my top 2 favorite songs by that band. I don't really care what they write from this point forward. If they ever do, nothing will ever trump those songs, and therefore, they have made the list. Number 8 on my top 10. Alright, number 7. Let's grab a prop for this one, shall we? Yes! Number 7, the man, JP John Petrucci from Dream Theater. Now, I recently grew to have an appreciation for John Petrucci, and I really don't even like Dream Theater that much, I'll be honest. I don't really like the music, I don't really like the vocals. The drums are sick and the guitar playing is sick. That being said, like I don't really know that many Dream Theater songs. I know the hits, and I know, you know, songs here and there, but I'm not like a Dream Theater freak. But I do respect and love the man, and that's why, you know, he's made this list. He also creates the fastest and sleekest signature guitars in the world, and that's like, I think that's fact. I don't think that's an opinion. I'd really strain to find a guitar that's faster and sleeker than like the Majesty or the JP15, 16 stuff. Like, dude, these things are so fast, and if you're a shredder and you're not playing these, I'm not sure what you are playing that you feel is more comfortable, because honestly, these are amazing and they're so fast and badass. And so basically, because of John Petrucci's signature model, he's made my list for top 10 favorite guitar players. Just because I have an extreme appreciation for him, like trying to learn Panic Attack, that solo, as well as Pull Me Under, just one of the most iconic songs of the 90s, like power metal. That's all I really needed to put John Petrucci on this list. His guitars, and just his overall like status of being a god in the guitar community. Therefore, I love him. He's on my number 7 slot for this list. Let's move on to number 6. Alright, number 6 is from a band from Down Under, and it is not AC/DC. Parkway Drive. Jeff Lynne coming in at number 6 on Jeff Lynne coming in at number 6 on this list. Now, Jeff Lynne, the lead guitar player for Parkway Drive. Parkway Drive is the band that I like dove into exclusively and heavily when I really decided to get into playing guitar seriously and branching off from the classics. You know, I was done with Whole Lotta Love. I was done with Paranoid and War Pigs. You know what I mean? Like, it was time for me to learn new and relevant songs that were hard and in drop tunings. They're the first band that I learned a drop B song in, and that's what ultimately created my love for the drop B tuning. And so Parkway Drive was just the band that was like at the cusp of where it was like technical and hard to play, but it wasn't too hard to play. And that in turn grew my desire to continue to play guitar, because I was playing hard stuff, but it wasn't like overly challenging where like I was playing for, you know, 3 months trying to learn one song. So I love their breakdowns and their riffs. They're awesome. Sick band. If you haven't heard of them or seen them much, check them out. Parkway Drive, coming in at number 6. Jeff Lynne, number 6 on this list. Alright, we've made it to the top 5. Let's get another prop, shall we? Coming in at number 5 is Jimmy Page. Zeppelin is the first and my favorite classic rock band I ever got into when I was like 6. My father, he idolized Jimmy Page, and he's the one that gave me my first guitar and taught me how to play guitar. So naturally I grew up with Jimmy Page, and I ultimately learned how to hate him because, you know, you don't really like the same stuff your father likes. You want to get like, it's like if your father likes a certain sports team, sometimes you want to like talk shit and you know, root for somebody else. And that's all this was. It was friendly competition. He thought Jimmy Page was the best guitar player ever, and I have to respectfully disagree. He's awesome. He's a classic. He's an innovator, much like Jimi Hendrix. However, his live performances are what hinders me from liking him a little bit more. But I respect the hell out of him, and it's more of a sentimental thing. My father, rest in peace, loved Jimmy Page. And so therefore I had to put him on this list because I grew up with him and he has been in my life for so long and has such an influence and reminds me of my dad. So number 5 is Jimmy Page. Number 4 is the man, the legend, the almighty Father Zakk Wylde, coming in at number 4 on this list. Zakk Wylde, awesome guy. I had a couple Wylde audio guitars in the past. I just wanted to check them out, and Zakk Wylde is an awesome people person and even better businessman because he kept me buying his guitars because he would reach out to me on my social media and just like write little things here and there saying, hey, cool guitar, whatever, you know, have a great day. I can't remember. I have him saved on my phone. He went the extra mile to reach out to his fans, and he continues to do that, and I think that's awesome. He is an absolute rock icon, but yet he's still grounded enough to reach out to his fans, and I see it all the time when people are posting pictures of Wylde audio stuff and, you know, and supporting him and Black Label. He reaches out, and it's just like the little things like that the humility side of a person that really attracts me to liking them. Not only is he a great player and an iconic player, one of the most iconic sounds from a guitar player, iconic tones, you know, the chorus pedal and the JCM 800s with the Les Paul with EMGs, I mean, that is Zakk Wylde. As soon as you hear Zakk Wylde playing, you know it's him. It's kind of like another player, which will be shortly on this list. As soon as they plug in and start playing, you know it's them. Zakk Wylde has done the near impossible where he has created a tone that is symbolic and is, you know, it coincides with him. It's you know, one and one with him, you know, it's I can't think of the word. His tone goes hand in hand with him. That's what I'm trying to say. So, great guy, phenomenal shredder, awesome dude. Therefore, Zakk Wylde, number 4 on my list. Alright, top 3. Now, these next two dudes, it's another pair, another duo. These two dudes are extremely influential to me in my playing, and they've been the only band, in my opinion, that have made drop D at times the heaviest tuning possible. You guys know what it is. The Rednecks from Richmond, Virginia, Mark Morton and Willie Adler. Laid to Rest. Do I need to say anything else? Laid to Rest is that song that got me into Lamb of God, and for the longest time it was the hardest song for me that I knew how to play and barely knew how to play because it's just so technical. There's a bunch of string skipping and it's just so damn heavy for being in drop D, man. Like, listen to that, it sounds like it's in drop B or drop C. Like, it sounds heavier than it really is. It's just in drop D, man. That's just standard tuning with your low E string tuned down to a D, and that's it. And it sounds absolutely in your face and huge. You know, I guess Mark is the lead player, but Willie holds it down with a rhythm, and his technicality and his weird picking hand, if you've ever seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, they're just so iconic together, and I couldn't pick one or the other, and they have such an influence on me, and I love playing Lamb of God stuff because it's so challenging and so fun. And, you know, they do polyrhythms with string skipping and just like awesome solos, and they're just so cool together, and, you know, you couldn't have one without the other. I couldn't separate them, so they're both collectively in the number 3 spot on my top 10 list. Alright, we made it to the top 2. Now, You guys know me. If you've been with my channel for a long time, you know me. You know who I like. You know they're coming. So without further ado, I'm going to grab another prop. Coming in at number 2. It's another pair. Jim Root and Mick Thompson from The Knot. I talk about these guys almost every video I make. I love Slipknot, man. They're my favorite band of all time. They're the band that got me into heavy music. Solely the band that got me into heavy music back in the day when Volume 3 had just come out. And they will always be that band that I will cherish forever because it was the start of my journey into metal and heavy music. I couldn't separate the two because Jim and Mick, much like Willie and Mark, they're one, you know, they're the whole package. You can't separate them. They have iconic riffs, you know, awesome solos. They really don't play up to par of what they're capable of in Slipknot's music, and that's okay. They do what's best for the song, and I respect that. I don't know. You ever seen Mick Thompson or Jim Root shred? You know that Slipknot's, you know, just banging on the low B is not all that they're limited to do. They can shred, and they support the band. That's another thing that I love about them. They just support the band and the music and the song, and together they have just created an awesome iconic sound in drop beat. Jackson and Fender, two iconic brands. I'm so glad Mick went to Jackson and left Ibanez and BC Rich. So just like, I love their gear, their masks, their playing, their songs, just everything about them. That's why they're number 2 on this list. So that brings me to number 1. Number 1 for me is also the best guitar player of all time, bar none. I don't care what you say, he's the best of all time. He created the modern day lead guitar player, guitar and sound, and he's just an absolute amazing innovator. He's created amps, he's creating this, this is a dead giveaway now, but he didn't create it, but he turned it into a thing that everybody ripped off. He's got the sound, he's got the guitar, he's got the look, he's got the girl, he's got everything. Eddie Van Halen is my favorite guitar player of all time. Eddie Van Halen is the guitar god. He is the almighty, the everything, my favorite guitar player. He is the one that blew my mind when you heard it. You know, everybody knows the first time they heard Eruption or Stairway to Heaven, or, you know, I can vividly remember hearing the opening to Running with the Devil in my father's living room, hearing the and then, you know, that riff kicking in, and then the next song was Eruption. Like, that was it. That was it. My life was changed forever. Nobody has ever even come close to doing that since. You know, it's just like, he's amazing. He's awesome. He creates guitars, he builds guitars, he's got hot chicks, he, you know, rips his guitars apart and puts them back together. It's like, that made it cool to like customize your own guitar. Just everything he does is gold. It's amazing, and that's why he is my favorite guitar player. So, thank you so much for sticking around with me from 10 to 1. What are your guys' top 10 favorite guitar players? Let me know down in the comments. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. As always, thank you so much for subscribing and supporting me and letting me geek out for these last close to 20 minutes just talking about my top 10 guitar players. Again, leave your list down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure I've pissed a lot of people off. And, you know, that's fine. That's my list. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to mine. Let's have a friendly debate. Leave it down below. Please hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already so you don't miss out on the next video that I do. Links down to my social media are below, to include Instagram and Patreon. As always, dudes, stay metal, and I will see you guys next time.